My wife Lisa and I, Eric, just returned from vacation in the Caribbean. We arrived at our resort on Saturday. Everything was fine, and we walked around the resort exploring it. When we went to the buffet for dinner later that evening, it was packed. We ended up sitting at a table with a couple from England, Colin and Emma. They were in their mid-50s, very well-spoken, well-kept, and we ended up chatting with them for about an hour. We separated and everything was fine. The next morning we woke up and decided to go for a walk on the beach. It turns out that our resort has a section of the beach where clothing is optional. Basically, there was a sign saying that from now on you may encounter naked swimmers. We were both itching to go there, but we got a spot on the beach right next to the nude area. We were just people watching. There are a lot of naked guys with erections around and a few topless women here and there. Then I was OMG. Colin and Emma, who we had dinner with, were at a nude beach. He was naked, with a big boner, and she was in a one-piece swimsuit. They didn't see us. We laughed a little at how they weren't shy about it. I told my wife that Colin has a big dick. We both laughed and spent the rest of the day enjoying the beach. That evening we returned to the buffet. We sat down at the table and began to enjoy our food. I stood up to take my second helping. While standing in line, I saw Colin and Emma sitting at a table. They said hello and we started talking again. I even invited them to join us at our table. They got up and came back with me. My wife kind of blushed. She tends to be shy. Anyway, we chatted more. It turns out that Emma was flying back to England that same night. Her son from a previous relationship was caught driving drunk. Apparently he has a lot of problems that they told us about. Her son hates Colin with a passion. They decided that there was no point in spoiling the vacation for both of them. So she was going to fly back, and Colin would stay until the end of the holidays. We wished Emma success with her son. She was very upset because this was not his first DUI, and as a single mother she felt overwhelmed. The next couple of days we went on an excursion. We saw Colin lying on a nude beach. I think this is more normal for Europeans than for us in Canada. We had dinner with him every evening. We didn't say anything about seeing him on the beach. It may be inconvenient. The next day we went to the beach. We again placed our things in the same place as before. And of course, Colin in all his glory. It wasn't even that special anymore. I got up to get us drinks from the bar. It usually took about 10 or 15 minutes between walking there and waiting for them to come back for a drink. But when I returned, I was a little shocked. My wife was naked on the beach, in a swimsuit of course, but stood there chatting to Colin. Colin was wearing his usual beach clothes, naked with a boner. I wasn't sure what to do about it. I didn't hear what they were talking about, but they were laughing and pointing in the opposite direction from me. I approached them somewhat awkwardly. My wife was all smiles when I arrived. Turns out there was a strong gust of wind because I remember him carrying the empty cup all over the bar. So the wind started to blow away all of Collins's things, and he struggled to catch them. My wife saw this and went to help him catch his hat and towel. He didn't seem to mind at all that he was naked in front of us. Again, I think it's a European thing. We talked for 10 minutes or so. He thanked my wife for her help. I chuckled a little as we left. My wife said, "Well, he's definitely not shy." I jokingly said that I think he likes you. We both laughed. That evening, Colin joined us for dinner. We talked about everything again. He told us that Emma had returned to England and was taking care of her son. The next morning, Colin and Emma booked a prepaid couples massage. He suggested it to me and Lisa because he didn't want to go alone. I couldn't go because I had a deep-sea fishing trip booked that day, so I said I couldn't go. Now, contrary to my wife's usual shyness, she says that since I'm going fishing, she'd like to get a massage. So I thought, oh, okay. Colin said he would come to our room to pick her up as she was on her way to the spa. I needed to meet at the fishing pier at 6 a.m. the next day. Their spa appointment was scheduled for 7 a.m., so I didn't see Colin when he arrived. When I arrived at the pier, we stood and waited until about 6:30 a.m. Finally, the boat captain came and said that we would not be able to go out due to safety reasons. It was very windy on the water, and we didn't want to get seasick. He asked us if we wanted to go fishing in a quieter area, but I decided not to go, showed him lame. By then, it was about 7:15 a.m. I decided to go back to the room, change, then go get some coffee and wait for them to finish the massage. Now we had a room on the first floor. It had a main door at the front and a sliding door at the back leading out to the garden. Returning from the pier, he quickly broke through the garden and entered the room through the sliding door. As I made my way through the bushes, I could see through the glass of the sliding door. Lisa and Colin were naked, and she was giving him a blowjob. My heart stopped and I froze in place. I was still in the bushes and they couldn't see me. I just stood and watched. I do not know why. Shock, I think, from the way she sucked him off to the full sex. Lasted about half an hour. When they finished, I watched him leave. Then Lisa went to the bathroom to take a shower. I just spent the whole day hiding in different parts of the resort. When I returned, I met them at the bar. They behaved normally, as if nothing had happened. I told them that deep-sea fishing was canceled, and I lied and said that we were fishing in a bay on the other side of the island. The next day, we went to a local flea market, then flew home. I keep thinking about what I saw. We've been together for 15 years, married 10. Will I tell her what I saw? Am I not saying anything? Shall I wait and see if she confesses? Should I leave her? Do I forgive her? In the end, I chose dialogue and healing. Lisa's agreement to family therapy was the first step towards the eventual restoration of our relationship. We began regular meetings with a therapist who helped us understand our feelings and taught us how to build new communication that was more open and honest. The process turned out to be difficult. There were days filled with pain and disappointment, but also moments when we felt like we were on the right path. Lisa did everything she could to prove her commitment to our relationship, and over time, my wounds began to heal. The therapist offered us various exercises aimed at restoring trust and strengthening communication. One such exercise involved co-creating a VJ Indeed of Trust VJKJ, where we both laid out our expectations and commitments to each other. This exercise was extremely helpful because it allowed us to outline specific actions and boundaries that we both needed to respect. Time passed, and our relationship began to gradually change. We began to talk more about our experiences, fears, and dreams. It wasn't always easy, but every conversation made us stronger. A few months later, we went on a short weekend trip to the mountains. This was our first trip together after the incident. Surrounded by nature, away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life, we were able to feel even better connected to each other. We walked, talked, and laughed like old times. On the last day of our weekend, standing by the fire, Lisa took my hands and told me that she would never stop thanking me for the chance I gave her. She admitted that her love for me only intensified after all our trials. That night, as I looked at the stars, I realized that despite everything that had happened, I still loved this woman. I still wanted to be with her, to fight for our family and for our future together. The healing took time, but it brought us to a new understanding and respect for each other. Our story, filled with challenges, has become a story of resilience and renewed love. Once we returned to our daily lives, our new dynamic felt empowering. Lisa continued to show her dedication and seemed to do everything she could to regain our trust. However, over time, cracks began to appear in our newly formed foundation. Several months of peaceful life passed when I suddenly began to notice strange calls and messages on Lisa TNM's phone. She became more careful with him, not leaving him unattended as before. She spent some evenings away from home, explaining this by sudden business meetings or parties with friends. I wanted to believe that it was just my paranoia, but deep down I felt anxious. One day when Lisa returned home late and especially excited, I couldn't resist and asked her directly. Her answers were evasive, and I felt that something was wrong. My fears were confirmed one rainy evening when one of our mutual friends, apparently deciding that I should know the truth, told me that he had seen Lisa in a restaurant with another man. They seemed very close and affectionate with each other. It was the moment of truth that destroyed the last vestiges of my trust. I confronted Lisa, presenting her with all the evidence and stories that had reached me. She eventually admitted that she had started dating someone again, and that her feelings for me were no longer the same. It was a conversation full of tears and accusations, after which I realized that our marriage could not be saved. At that moment, I decided that I could no longer continue to live like this. I told Lisa she needed to pack her things and leave. Divorce was inevitable. Despite all the pain and disappointment, I knew that this was the only path forward for me, the path to healing and rebuilding my life. The divorce process was difficult, but liberating. I gradually began to feel the burden of heaviness and uncertainty lifting away from me. Over time, I gained new strength and confidence. Although the breakup was painful, It also opened the door to a new life where I could build a future on my own terms, without deception or betrayal.